Man, the game has changed. So let's talk about this first cash game that on my journey from being the average Joe to poker pro, I go into the cash game. I've been winning these small tournaments, $20 tournaments, and I built enough bankroll to allow me to sit into a cash game so I could hit my second milestone. Now, the second milestone is really about getting enough bankroll to take some shots at a bigger tournament. So we want to turn our $20 investment up to $40,000. We need to play these bigger tournaments. So looking for $1,000 bankroll so I could start playing these $100 tournaments. And what I find is I go to sit down in a 1-2 no limit hold'em game. And yeah, it's been a long time since I played no limit cards. And in a live casino, you know, things just play a lot differently than the online play that I've been doing. So the first thing I noticed is, you know, players are a lot looser and they will call with marginal hands, and there are huge swings when it comes to chip stacks. So what I know is one of the best strategies for playing at a table is playing opposite of how the table plays. So that means if the table's tight, I'm gonna play looser and I'm gonna get involved in bigger pots to get people to lay down their hands and make bigger bets. So when people are playing, you know, tighter, or when people are playing looser, then I need to tighten up my play. Especially if a lot of people are calling on draws, and they're literally, I've seen people go all in and have pocket threes and everything on the board beats them. So either they had a great read on the player, but as I was looking at, you know, as far as when it comes to pot odds, you know, they definitely weren't getting the pot odds to call, especially an all-in bet on the flop, but people were calling. And I think I can only contribute that to the play that's been happening on television, right? So every time we turn on a World Poker Tour or the World Series of Poker, you know, you see these big dramatic showdowns of these hands and, you know, people getting, hitting their one-outers and hitting the exact card they need. But in real life, that's not how it happens. Live action is, first of all, way different, and all that stuff is really built for dramatic, you know, television. But when I first got back in the table, I have to tell you, I was so nervous. It was a Saturday morning. I woke up and I said, okay, I'm gonna take my shot at this 1-2 table. I went to the Hollywood Casino near where I lived, and you know, the casino is about 30 minutes away, and I like planned my whole day. So everything's very strategic for me. I said, okay, what am I gonna wear? Am I gonna have glasses? Am I gonna, you know, wear a hat? Am I gonna wear, you know, even down to the watch? I want to be very strategic because people are going to look at me and I'm going to represent something to them. And I need to know, you know, and that part of that is my perception of how I look. Now, when I sat down, I told myself, like, all right, I'm not gonna get mixed up into a lot of crazy hands. I'm gonna play premium hands. And I'm gonna, you know, create content really for this blog, you know, and just kind of get my feet wet to where I'm back. And I remember walking towards the casino, and it's so grand, right? So it's this huge building with, you know, we live in Columbus, so there's not even, you know, palm trees where we live, but they have these fake palm trees out there because it's the Hollywood Casino, right? So they try to make it feel like this Hollywood feeling. You're walking up and this big sign and these, you know, big boards of the TV screens, and they're, you know, all these dramatic motion graphics are happening. And, you know, it's nervous, you know, I'm so nervous, and I'm walking in, I had no idea what to do, right? So I go to the poker room, and I had to buy my chips somewhere else and bring them back. So I went through this whole thing. I sit down and I get a few hands. And again, I just say, you know, I'm just going to play tight just so I could see how I felt. And literally within the first few hands, I get pocket jacks, and pocket jacks are like, they're tricky. From what I heard, they're like almost the hardest hand to play and hold them, because you don't want to necessarily lay them down, and you don't want to get into a big pot with them as well. So I remember sitting down, pocket jacks come, you know, I raise just to see where I'm at. I have two callers. I have another person re-raise. So the pot is, we're 1-2 hold'em. I raise it to 8, just 3-bet it. I'm in middle position. I 3-bet it. I get one caller. Dealer folds, small blind bumps it to 16. And from here, I'm like, oh man, there's been some callers ahead of me on the small blind. 16. I don't want too many people in this pot. So I bump it to 40. So he calls 40, and now it's just me and him heads up. So the flop comes 8, 10, 4, rainbow. So there's no flush draws. There's a possible of a straight, but you're playing like a jack 9 or a queen 9 waiting, or a queen jack waiting for a gut shot. And I have one of your jacks if that's what he does. So the small blind checks to me. So in my brain, I'm like, there's no way that this flop helped him at all, right? Unless he's sitting on ace 10. But even then, I have an overpair to him. So I bet another 60. He sits there, he calls, and then the turn card comes a 6. He checks to me again. Now I'm getting nervous, right? I'm thinking, oh, maybe he hit a set, right? So I have to start figuring out why is he calling? What's going on? So, the 6 necessarily doesn't really fulfill a straight unless it's 9-7, and there's no way he's calling on, as I was watching his play, I don't think he's playing those semantics, those cards. So I say to myself, all right, either he's at the high 10 with a good kicker, or he hit a set. And really, from my positioning of the seat, man, I don't know if it's because I'm getting old or if clearly the cards were just blurry. So the 6 comes and I'm like, man, what is this 6? So I check it. And so mad that I did that. And because I couldn't see the cards, what happened was I'm sure I did some funny face gesture and it looked like some tell that I was giving. And that was definitely a mistake to check the turn because a king comes. Now, if he's sitting on king 10, I just gave him the free card to hit 2 pair. If he's sitting on ace king and didn't believe I had anything, I just let him hit his king. So the small blind thinks about it. He bets 53. And in that moment, I had a hard time thinking that I was beat because there was 2 things. Either he was bluffing at the pot and trying to take it down with, a sizable bet, but I was getting too much pot odds to say that, this is, because I still could be ahead, right? And as I sit there and contemplate, the other thing was I thought about that turn card that my dumb face made because of I couldn't see the card, and he probably thought I was, that I missed with that 6, and he comes out firing on the river. So if anything, I felt like I wanted to call just to know his betting pattern and what he re-raised with pre-flop, suggesting a call in the small blind, which could have been ace king or a small pocket pair that hit a set. So I end up calling, and I really called out of spite to understand how his betting pattern went. And he ends up turning over ace jack offsuit. So I turn over, the hooks, pocket jacks. So I feel like I made probably one mistake there on the turn. But ultimately, that's what this is all about, right? Ultimately, this is me getting back into the rhythm of playing poker on this journey that I have that I'm sharing with you guys. And I'm excited to talk about the good and the bad. So that hand ended up working for me. But I think the lesson learned here is when people are playing opposite of what the table was playing, and the table was playing very loose. Now, ace jack, for whatever reason, he called the flop bet. Maybe he should have laid it down there, unless he was gonna bluff me on the river anyways, or just hoping to catch his next card. But the point is, when the table is playing, loose, you should play tight. And if the table is playing tight, you should play loose. And that is the big lesson that I learned in this round of play. But I'm excited to be back in the game. I'm excited to, go on this journey, and I think things are going up. So I end up leaving the casino. I probably played for about 2.5, 3 hours, and I end up leaving plus $75. So my bankroll that I started with $20, won a couple tournaments, played this cash game, now is up to $350 off of a $20 start. So that's it. Thank you for following the journey, and I'll see you next time.